you've already made an impact in Alabama politics, and I can't even begin to describe. When the Speaker of the House has got on an orange and blue today, if you knew what a fan he was for the other side of the state, that's a big impact. So.
Well, I want to thank the Speaker for putting this all together. Y'all having a great time in Birmingham, Alabama the last few days? So thank you to Speaker Ledbetter. Thank you, Senator Gudger, for having us here and putting this together. And Joe, you're my guy. You're my rep in Lee County, and thanks to you. And got to give Jay Hovey a shout out over there, my senator from. I'm an Auburn guy, so I got to take care of my Auburn people. And no, it's great to be with y'all.
Well, it's great to be here. When I was told, I follow you playing, coaching, and with the players, and I was told I had to contain your passion onto a stage for 30 minutes. I was like, that's going to be fun. So thank you for taking time to be here, and appreciate all you do. And we just want to know a little bit about you, talk about some things you're doing, and that everyone from across these states would find interesting. So you reached a point in your life when you said, I want to be a basketball coach. Tell us a little bit about that.
Wow. I think it's because at a very young age, I realized that I wasn't very good. But I found a way to get 4 other guys that were pretty good, put me on that team, and together we could stay on the playground and play. Because, when you win, you get to play the next game. You lose, you get off the court. And a bunch of other guys waiting to play. There's only one court, chain nets, leather ball. And so the idea is to stay out there. And no, I just sort of recognize that, that when we as a team can be successful, you as an individual can sometimes benefit far more than if you as an individual are successful, but the team fails. That there was, just having coached and wanting your players to get recognition, wanting your best player to be player of the year, wanting them to be all conference, wanting them to be rewarded for that individual accolade, recognizing that, I always voted for the MVP, for the best player on the best team. Not necessarily the best player in the league, but the best player on the best team, to sort of reward that. So for whatever reason, that was sort of always in me. And that's been a big part of, I think my path. That's what God had for me.
Well, you mentioned all working together for the team and we'll all win. That sounds like a good legislative process we could all learn about.
Is that your ideological approach, or is that realistic, Joe? Help me out here.
I may print that on a quote from you and put it on my wall when people are in my office and be like, wait, we're on the same team here. So, well, that's wonderful. You coach at a great school, War Eagle, by the way. Yeah, a lot of people took a tour to other part of the state. We won't get into that.
Hey, listen, I think every state needs to educate all folks, right? And, we need great 4-year institutions, and we need a great 2-year institution like a Tuscaloosa. We do. We need that.
Right.
Not everybody can get into Auburn.
Right.
And thank God for places like Auburn, where faith and family, loving your country, loving your neighbor can be taught, can be. You can do it out front, do it out loud, so on and so forth. But I will say this about Alabama. No, I'm just kidding. We are blessed to have some of the greatest public institutions in this country, and people from around and y'all know what I'm talking about here in the South. You all know exactly what I'm talking about, because you know what's going on these colleges, campuses all over. They're not happening in the South. We're not having it, and it's not happening. And one of the things about Alabama as the institution, seriously, there's a ton of kids coming from all over the country that are coming to the University of Alabama. And you know what? They're getting a little taste of Southern hospitality. They're getting a little bit of taste of our way of life. They're getting a little taste of how we treat one another. How we don't necessarily need big government to be able to solve our problems. Like, we can actually take care of our own. Like, we could take care of our own families and people that have less than we have through our churches and through our communities and through other things that are available. And so, no, seriously, while I give Alabama a hard time, I actually think it's great that we've got thousands and thousands of kids every year coming from all over the country to the University of Alabama just to see, what this is all about.
Well, I tell you, the passion and the igniting of a football state turning into a basketball migration that moves around the country following you. That in coaching at a school in the Deep South, you're right, we are in a special place where a lot of things going on in the world. And when you're all these southern states, you recruit in all these states. And from your perspective, what are you seeing in those homes when you go talk? Are you seeing a change, or are you seeing some things that concern you or some things that excite you?
Well, I think I get asked all the time, like, what's your culture? What's the secret sauce? What do you do? And part of it, and I want to get back to talk a little bit about what makes Auburn so special. But I ask my guys, every day, simply this: what would God have you do today? Like today, what's He having you do today? Oh, He wants you to be late for class. I missed that one, right? I didn't see that one coming. Or He wanted somebody else to do your homework for you. And the whole idea with our student athletes is, like, nobody's in the weight room for them. Nobody's in the gym for them. No. By the way, if you got a chance to hire a student athlete, ever, hire one. Because they've had to get up earlier than the average student. They've had to train. Not all of them, but some of them aren't as academically prepared because they've done all these other things. They got to work twice as hard. And they know what it's like to be on a team. They know the sacrifices that it takes. They've tried and they've failed, and they've been allowed to fail. We get done with the game, we got a big fat L, and they understand what that's all about, and then the things they need to do to negotiate that. And sometimes we don't let our kids fail anymore. We're trying to fix everything for them. Well, I can't fix everything for them, on the basketball court. So, I think when I find out from somebody that they've made a decision to go to Auburn, you've already told me who you want to be. You've told me. You said, I want to be an Auburn man, I want to be an Auburn woman, and I want to accept responsibilities for what that's all about, and then work towards getting there. And so, I just think that, for me, Joe, I love this country. I love this country. This country saved my family from certain death. And the senator talked about the fact that coming from humble beginnings, my grandfather came to this country in 1929 from Ternopil, which was sort of near Ukraine and out in that area, more Russia. And he came over here with his 3 younger siblings. My Auntie Shirley, my Auntie Claire, my Uncle Harold was an infant. And most of his family couldn't afford the journey because it was pretty expensive to send those 4 kids over here. And so most of my papa's family stayed, and most of them died in the Holocaust. When Papa was 32 years old, he became a United States citizen. 20 years later, he told me it was the greatest day of his life. The greatest day of his life. He had to earn that citizenship. He had to earn the right to be able to contribute to this country. He was a plumber. He spoke broken English, but he made sure that I understood what this country did for our family and what it did, obviously for him. These are the kind of things that you can talk about and teach at places like Auburn or at universities, in the southern part of our country. So how do I recruit? I've got to have a pretty good NIL budget. I got to be honest with you. That stuff, money talks too now. I mean, you guys know what I'm saying, right?
Oh, yeah.
But at the same time, I'm 65 years old. I'm old school. I'm old fashioned, and it works, and it still works. And so, I think one of the biggest things that I can do in recruiting kids, and I know I'm bouncing all over the place. I do that sometimes, is being honest. If you are honest with kids, and you tell them the truth, not what they want to hear, even if it's something they don't agree with. But if you tell them the truth as you know it, don't make you right, but it's the truth as you know it, they'll play for you. They'll run through a wall for you. But if you lie to them, if you make it sound better than what it actually is, and all of a sudden they show up on campus and go, what am I doing here? You got 3 guys that are just like me. My job is to help put my kids in positions to be successful. That's my job as a coach and as a leader. You got to evaluate your talent. You got to know what your talent strengths and their weaknesses are. And your job is to put them in those positions where they can be successful. And if they fail sometimes as a leader, it's your fault. They're doing the wrong thing. So that's what it's all about, putting teams together. Young people still want to be disciplined. Young people still want to be held accountable. Young people still want you to see something in them they don't see in themselves. There's got to be a level of discipline. There's got to be a level of tough love. Coach Pat Dye used to say, you can coach them as hard as you love them. Why do you put up with some things that your mommy or your daddy tells you, still to this day? The only one that can tell you you're too heavy is your mama. She's the only one. What I'm saying is, mama can tell you that because mama loves you. Daddy loves you, and you put up with them. Same thing in coaching. Same thing in leadership. If you're just honest with them, they will play for you. And so that's how we recruit. That's how we recruit. And we get them to understand right from the very beginning that if you want to play 35 minutes, and if you want me to tell you how much you're going to play and what kind of a star you're going to be, then you probably need to go somewhere else. I promise you I'm going to give you the opportunity. I'm going to show you what we've done in the past and see if you can obviously, fit into this. But I'm not going to make you promises I can't keep. I'm not getting you, like coach will tell you, I'm going to get you the NBA. I've never known a coach get a player to the NBA. I've known coaches that have set things up and put things in position to give that young man the opportunity to get himself to the NBA.
Well, you certainly.
You can clap on that one right there. I'm going to tell you right now.
Well, you make quite an impact on these young men because living in that community, I get to interact with them and they get to interact with our children and just make a positive impact. You can tell that energy is feeding from you. They're still teenagers and still having a good time. I tell people 25 years in emergency services in a college town, all those smart people walking around, and I never got a call when somebody had done something smart. So, So I know you deal with that. One thing that stood out to me locally in following it is you took some players to Israel for your team there to play, and there was images that got out of some of them being baptized in the River Jordan, and I thought there's not a grandma or a mama anywhere that's not going to want their son or grandson playing for that coach. How did that impact your team, and how did that come together?
Well, that's a great question, Joe, and thank you for asking that question. There's a lot to unpack there. Every 4 years, the NCAA lets your institution go on a foreign trip. And so I'm 65 years old. I have literally gone every 4 years somewhere around the world with a basketball team. And it's been an unbelievable experience. I was in China in 1986 prior to the fall of Tiananmen Square. So I remember what Shanghai looked like with dirt roads and looked like it was back in the 1930s, so on and so forth, just to put it in perspective. But I never, ever had a situation where when we decided we were going to go to Italy or Spain or Japan or wherever it was, have anybody comment on why you'd go there until I decided to take my team to Israel. And that bothered me because I got my players and their parents got inundated with messages from organizations supporting Palestinian causes, so on and so forth. You're not going to let your son go to Israel and legitimize Israel's existence, are you? I've been doing this for 40 years. Never was it an issue trying to take, and all I'm trying to do is keep in mind, you started it this way, Joe. I'm a coach. I'm about bringing people together. I'm about trying to find common ground. So I grew up in Boston. In Boston, there is great ethnicity. Again, born in 1960. Unbelievable ethnicity. Phenomenal Italian food in the North End. The Irish, South Boston. There were the Portuguese that lived in the North Boston, not the North End, but North Boston. The African-American communities of Roxbury, where I was born. The Jewish ghettos of Mattapan and Dorchester. I mean, very, very, very segregated. No integration. And if you all remember back, some of you are old enough to remember this, in 1972, Judge Arthur Garrity ordered some integration amongst the school systems, and he forced busing to put these people in different places. The point is this. Boston was incredibly divided. I saw real racism. I saw real white on black hate because there was a lack of understanding and coexistence. And I saw it even amongst the religious communities, tremendous anti-Semitism. I can't tell you how many times I would get off the bus because my parents were working, and my buddy said, hey, let's come home and we'll do some homework together. And I get off the bus and go to the house and have the parents take the young man into the kitchen or into the room and yell at him, of all the kids on your team, you're going to bring home the Jew? Really? Oh no. Oh no. For real, for real. I'm a coach, I'm a teacher, and I'm an athlete, and I don't understand it. I don't understand it. We're at the playground playing. I don't know what church you go to. I don't care what color you are. None of that even matters to me as a kid. Like, will you play defense and pass me the ball? I mean, that's all I really care about. And it's really, really true. And so I saw that, again, I'm a coach, all that division, and it bothered me. And then I'll take it one step further. I'm gonna get to Israel. To me, Israel should unite us. Jerusalem should unite us. It's the birthplace of all of our faiths. It's where Abraham and Isaac, where it all started. Where Ishmael and Isaac, where it all started, right there. The father of all nations. But what bothered me as I grew up and I began to understand my faith and began to move into the South in Tennessee and Alabama and understand my Christian faith and the roots of that Christian faith, I never went to Hebrew school, and they never taught me what an amazing rabbi Jesus was. They never told me that Jesus was Jewish his entire life, or that he was born in Bethlehem and grew up in Nazarene and performed miracles in the Sea of Galilee. They missed that part. And that really bothered me. And I don't know how many of my Christian friends really got that at their Bible school, so on and so forth. And so when we had this divide of the faiths, and I'm growing up with this divide, I don't understand it. Because you know who the two most popular Jews in Alabama are? Me and Jesus. My point is, as a team, how my guys want to look at Jerusalem? They can look at the division. They can. You get off the plane in Israel, you get off the plane, how many of y'all have ever been there? Raise your hand if you've ever been there, okay? Y'all need to go. Y'all need to go sometimes. Everybody I didn't ask you, what can you do for Israel? Go visit. Just go visit. You get off the plane, you take them to the beaches of Tel Aviv. It looks like Fort Lauderdale a little bit. There's more color, there's more diversity, there's more ethnicity, there's more coexistence. You have 2 million Israeli Arabs living as part of 7 million citizens living their best lives. I don't need to tell my players that. They can go there and see it and see democracy at work. And with democracy at work, there are issues politically, obviously, so on and so forth. There are a lot of freedoms that got to get. It's just so misunderstood. What am I trying to do? I'm trying to bring my team together. What do I want to do? I want the faiths to respect our differences, but understand that we all pray to the same God. And that brings us together. Again, I'm a coach. I'm not saying this because I'm trying to manufacture something. This is obviously what I truly believe, and that's what I'm trying to get with my team. So when my team goes to Israel, and I have an opportunity to take them to the Jordan River, I have the chance to take them to the Sea of Galilee. I have a chance to take them to be baptized in the very waters that John baptized Jesus. And every grandmother or every mother that couldn't make the trip, that couldn't afford the trip, got a chance to see their child baptized in those waters, and they understood what that meant. If we're gonna knock down threes, if we're gonna win championships, and we're gonna call God, you guys saw us this year. I don't know, for those of you who didn't see our team play, every time you thought we were taunting our opponent or we're calling it mama. No, we're calling God. We're giving God the glory. We're doing that. Well, listen, if you're gonna do that, then you can't be late for class. You're gonna do that, then you can't treat her that way. You can't do this and do that. And so if we make that choice, yes. So if we make that choice as a team or as a community or as a university, and here's one of the things I hear all the time. Coach, I get it. You're a coach, you're on national TV, you've got this platform. I wish I could do what you're doing. I say, you know what? You can. Just start around that table. Just start at home. Educate your children. Judaism has been around for 4,000 years. How? I have no idea. Because we've been through some stuff, but somehow God's protected us and we're still around. But part of the reason why we're around is because we told our children these stories. And we passed it down from generation. That's how Passover lasted. Jesus' Last Supper was Passover. He was performing a Passover Seder. I ask my Christian friends all the time, hey, who you having over for Passover? They go, Passover, what's Passover? I said, who you having for your Seder? What's a Seder? I said, dude, Jesus celebrated Passover every year of his life. You're always telling me you want to be more like Jesus. Why aren't you having a Seder? So you're all welcome to come over to my house. And we're going to have that Seder. And we're going to have the door open. And we're going to have a chair that's not taken. We'll have 8 or 9 people at a table, and we'll have one chair that's open with a place setting. And that's for Elijah to be able to come through that door anytime he decides he's coming back or comes to want to come. Right now, that year, last couple of years, that chair's been for the hostages. The hostages that are still held in the dungeons of Gaza. 45 Americans were killed on October 7th, and dozens were held hostage. That's why I still wear this pin. That's why I still have a chair open. So these are the lessons that we're able to teach our players, and that's why I took them to Israel.
You made quite an impact, Coach. And and that, whatever faith, like you said, it just resonates into the community, and it's just, I applaud your efforts with that. I could ask Jesus this question, but since you're here, I'll ask you this. If you had a magic wand and you could fix this transfer portal in NIL,
yep,
what would you do? Here's that wand.
Well,
call God.
Here's the deal. We call God. Look, if Moses could free the Jewish people from slavery and Jesus could walk on water, I should be able to fix the NIL problem.
Right.
But I don't think I can. Listen, intercollegiate athletics is wonderful. It's wonderful. It's changed our country. You stop and think about it, all right? It brought young people from the farms in rural America into the university setting for more education because they maybe had some athletic ability. And they maybe not have been thinking about college. Not that college is the cure-all end-all. It's not. We need more people in trades. We need more people. We all know that every time you try to call a plumber and find out, I want my kids to be involved in that stuff, that education as well, not just, but yeah. There was a time and still is a time where good quality education matters. It brought the inner city kids to college life. It created way more diversity on universities than we ever, athletics did that. And like I said, still to this day, it provides, great entertainment and a great part of our culture, so on and so forth. We were, the NCAA, the folks that led in our institutions, the conference commissioners and things like that, they were late to recognizing that the student athletes were not being properly compensated for their name, image, and likeness. There's just something fundamentally wrong with Cam Newton's number 2 jersey in the Auburn bookstore on sale for grandparents for $100, and you're gladly going in there and buying that jersey and putting it on your grandson or granddaughter, whatever, and Cam Newton doesn't get a penny from it. That's just fundamentally wrong. We recognize that. And it took far too long. And then what happened, I just want to go back 1 second. What happened was the NCAA began to fight that in the courts. And they had a losing hand. Went all the way to the Supreme Court in a unanimous decision. And the attorneys that represent the NCAA ought to be held to an account because they gave the NCAA bad advice. They should have recognized that they should have done a better job sooner of doing a better job of taking care of the student athletes. 25, 30 years ago, I had the idea of doing annuities for the kids. You stay 1 year, you get $2,500. You stay 2, you get $5. You graduate, you get more, whatever. And promoting, the longer they stay in school, the better chance they have to get a degree, so on and so forth. So right now it's a free market, and the student athletes are demonstrating exactly what they're worth. I mean, Ohio State had a $25 million football budget last year, the highest in the country, and won the national championship. This year, Kentucky's basketball budget, they're saying, is going to be approaching $17 or $18 million for 13 student athletes. Kentucky is committed to winning championships in basketball. So that's what the market says there. Now, is that realistic? realistic's not the word, is that sustainable? What impact will it have on your schools when in order to compete, you've got to pay the football team so much, the basketball team so much? What's going to happen to women's sports? What's going to happen to the non-revenue sports? What's going to happen to the model that integrated our universities and brought kids from all different backgrounds who weren't just great students to college campuses if you're having to spend those kind of resources? So we got to find a way to level the playing field a little bit. And there are more rules in professional sports, the NFL, Major League Baseball, as far as what you can compensate people than there are right now in the NCAA. That just doesn't make any sense at all. And so it's a moving target. Two things got to happen. Either, and as legislators, don't laugh at this, but Congress needs to get involved and fix this problem. Good luck. It's just, and there are a lot of reasons why that's a difficulty. But if Congress could ever change the laws and give us some antitrust protection so that we could do the right things to be able to save all of our smaller schools and non-revenue producing sports and create some guidelines, so on and so forth, for compensation, we'll do that. Or collective bargaining. Because in collective bargaining, if you've got ownership and leadership and then you've got players in some sort of a union and you collectively bargain, and the court said, okay, we'll accept that. We'll sign off on that. Well, the problem is a Division I football player has very little in common with a Division III women's tennis player. How do you collectively, so those are some of the challenges. All right, what do I do in the short term? The transfer portal and NIL together is a real problem. What they're saying is, Joe, let's forget all the student athlete. I'm at Auburn, I want to transfer to Alabama. I'm not a student athlete. There's no so-and-so penalty. I don't have to sit out, so on and so forth. But as a student athlete, I would have to sit out, not be eligible for a year. The courts have said that's just not fair. That's just not fair. They don't understand. Well, now because kids are transferring every year, they're not graduating. Every time they transfer, they lose credits. Every time they transfer, they're transferred for more money, so on and so forth. So right now it's broke. Number one thing I would do is I would try to figure out a way to get some guidelines and guardrails around the NLL, keep supporting the student athletes at a level, have us all playing at a more equal playing field, but then you can't transfer every year. That just doesn't work. And so those are the two things that I would do.
Well, we'll get Congress right on that, I'm sure. So that's, well, Coach, we got a couple more minutes here. You've got the key decision makers that are in this room from several southern states that are really trying to set the course for what's best for the future of their states. And there's no question your passion for your country. There's no question your passion of everyone being bold in their faith and whatever that faith is, and everyone can appreciate that. We're from all different political parties. If you could give us some parting advice with your travels and your leadership, what's some points that we should really take home of the direction of our country that you see it's going, and some advice you would give us?
Yeah. Well, Joe, I appreciate that. I think the reason why I wanted to be here and why I was so grateful of you and the speaker, the senator, asking me to be up here as a basketball coach, obviously somebody that cares about his country, so on and so forth. The reason why I agreed to do this was just to say thank you to you. I'm here this morning to say thank you to you. Joe, you are local. You are a problem solver. You're going to be one of the first calls people are going to make when something goes wrong, usually, right? Or they need some help in solving a problem that they couldn't necessarily solve. They're certainly going to not solve it at a higher, the word's not right, a higher level, or it's got to be done at the local level. It's got to be done right there around that table or in your community. And so I'm here today just to say thank you for what you are doing, and that you are absolutely, positively making a difference. And just say to yourself that if somebody was in your position that didn't have a servant's heart, that wasn't doing it for the right reasons, for the people that you serve, the people in that community would not be better off. The people in your community are better off because to the best of your human and sinful ability, you're trying. You're trying to do the right thing, trying to do the fair thing, trying to do the honest thing. That's why you've given up so much of your time and so much of your treasure and your talent to serve. You know, I know myself, it's gotten a lot of publicity that as the basketball coach at Auburn who loves his country and cares about these issues, it's been with Coach Senator Tuberville, Coach Tuberville going on to become governor or running for governor in a year, so the Senate seat's open. And I've had some people ask me, Coach, you sound more like a senator than you do a coach. And it's because I do care about my country. But I also recognize the enormous sacrifice it would take to be able to serve. I'm too old to serve my country in battle. I'm too old to serve my country in battle. If this country was at war, I would find a way to enlist. And you know how it is, you know, if you and I are being chased by an alligator, he's gonna catch the slower one. If there was a sniper out there and it was you and me and you're younger than me and I'm in the foxhole with somebody that's 25 years old and I'm 65, I've got them grandkids, I got a beautiful wife, I've had a good run, I'm gonna stick my head out and you go ahead and take your shot, but he's gonna kill you after you shoot me. And so that's taking it to extreme. But you have to be willing to stick your head out and take that shot for the people that you serve. Because you're giving up a lot. And so as long as we continue to get good people that are serving for the right reasons at the local level, this is the most important thing that can help our country. I would just say this. We don't have problems with our great patriots, with the people that do love our country, that recognize that we're not perfect, that recognize we got a lot of things that we need to work on. We recognize that there's a lot of inequality in wealth. There's a lot of inequality in opportunity. There's too big a spread between the haves and the have-nots. We recognize that. But we also recognize this is the greatest country in the world. I don't understand when I go overseas, I go to Europe, I don't care, I'm gonna call them out. What is holiday? Does anybody know what holiday is? Holiday is when they take a month off from work, sometimes 2 months on holiday. I mean, a weekend off for me is holiday, right? But look at me and look at where we're at and look what we have. And we have what we have because we worked our asses off. And we don't have to apologize for it. And this country is the land of opportunity. And it is the land of opportunity for everybody. It is, absolutely. Were there obstacles on the way to the Final Four for a Jewish basketball coach? Of course there were obstacles, but they weren't roadblocks. There weren't roadblocks. About 95% of the student athletes I've ever coached are African-American men. And there are all kinds of obstacles in their way to having great success, both on and off the court. But they're not roadblocks. They're not roadblocks. I want my players owning 5 subways, not working in one. And I want them to be able to believe that this is the country that they could do it. You all are setting the groundwork for that to be possible. For that to be possible. And so I think I honestly, I just don't think we brag on each other enough. I think we spend we can go back to teaching our kids. You know what I do at basketball camp? At basketball camp, I line our players up at basketball camp. And we sing God Bless America before camp. We put our right hand over our heart, we put our left hand behind our back, and we stand at attention, and we honor the flag, and we sing the Star Spangled Banner every time. And the reason why we do that is because if you go to a basketball game, a ball game, that's exactly what my student athletes are doing before every game. And I want my campers to someday aspire to be able to be one of those student athletes. But in order to do that, you're going to stand at attention and you're going to honor our flag. At the same time we're doing that, we're going to work really hard to fix the things that need to be fixed. And that's what you all are doing. Don't ever lose sight of your mission. Every one of you could say with clarity, this is what God had for you. This is what God had for you. This is what he had for you, Joe, after you got done with being in fire service and saving all of us idiots from making really bad decisions all the time. This was it. And so, no, I'm here more than anything to say thank you. Let's teach our kids to love our country. And I think we're all going to be better off.